Good morning. You are listening to KUHS The Stream on Melody Drive. You are watching the Weekend Boost, and I am Paul Lane. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking to a very special guest. Victor Archuleta is the author of 4 books, and we will be talking to him in a little while. Before we get started, I just want to talk about a couple of our past guests that we've had. Dennis Ty, I got to tell you, if you are looking for a very awesome read, a book you can't put your hands down, something that'll make you laugh, something that'll make you cry, Dennis Ty wrote this book. It is a 5-star Amazon bestseller, The Last Ride. Amber Stevens was on our last show. Amber has written this book, Food, Feelings, and Freedom, An End to Emotional Eating. I got to tell you, this is such a great book. You can open it up to any page in the book and you can get something from it. Fantastic read. Marilyn Saltzman was on here a couple of months ago, and she wrote this book, Your Love is Blasting in My Heart, a grandmother's journey. And Marilyn is just such a loving, wonderful woman, and it's a book about leadership, and it's about parenting, and it's really a book about just understanding love. I think it was really a great book. So Your Love is Blasting in My Heart. And then last is Unstoppable. Rocio Perez is an awesome, high-energy woman. She was on the show here just about a month or so ago. 7 Steps to Becoming a More Intentional Leader. Excellent read. I love the book. I love that it's very simple. It's only 108 pages, but take a look at this book. Call the station if you're interested in getting information on this book. And last, I'm the author of The Caregiver's Handbook, a self-help love story. I wrote this book. It was about my experience with my deceased wife. She passed away almost 13 years ago. I was married 28 years. And it's just a chronological order of things the way they happened. So this is just a few of the past guests that we've had on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, Victor has written a book about Reiki. Hold your book up if you would, Victor. Reiki for Beginners. So, I don't know if you know about Reiki, if you out there have had experience with Reiki, if you had curiosity about Reiki, maybe you never even heard of Reiki, but I've learned a little bit about it. I actually met Victor through my daughter who lives in around Chimayo, New Mexico, and he became a friend of my daughter's out there, and she told me he's an author, and when we were on our last trip to New Mexico, we got to meet Victor, and it was really fantastic getting to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited because I think we're going to be having you on a couple of shows to come too. So tell me a little bit, what is Reiki?
Well, it is somewhat challenging to explain, but I would say that I also call it subtle energy healing. And basically, the way that, and this is not necessarily for the international audience, but certainly for Colorado and New Mexico, there's a little nursery rhyme that our grandparents and our parents would say to us whenever we conk ourselves on the head or skin our knee or fall down on our elbows or our wrists, and they'd put their hands right on the place that was hurt, and they'd say this little rhyme. It was like sana sana colita de rana, sino sana soy sanarás mañana. Which, it's really hard to translate literally, but basically it's saying, heal, little tailed frog. If you don't heal today, you'll heal tomorrow. And it's a really great thing to kind of use to explain to the community here in New Mexico, and certainly any of the, I want to say even the Latinx community. It's basically saying that there's energy in the palms of our hands that we use almost intuitively to heal ourselves. So we hurt ourselves, we put our hand on it. We bump our head, we put our hand on it. Anything that we do, we cover it with the hand that's still good. And that's kind of the essence of what Reiki healing is to me. And certainly there's a whole history of Reiki and how it came to be. But I think the main thing to focus on is that there's a lot of intention behind it. There's a lot of really wanting to use energy other than something that I have myself innately. I'm kind of calling forth energy called universal life force energy. through my body, in out of my hands, the palms of my hands, and use that to apply to the areas of concern that people have.
Okay, so, oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right. That's kind of just a really like a little nutshell version of what
The abbreviated. So does it involve touch, or is touch involved in Reiki, or is it beyond touch?
You can do both. I actually mostly, because I do a lot of other healing modalities as well, wellness practices, and so I usually use Reiki while I'm touching my client doing some of the other modalities.
Oh, cool.
But certainly there are a lot of Reiki practitioners that they're able to really sense these really subtle energy fields of the body, and they actually go over the body 6 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, 15 inches, and can actually feel changes in the energetic field of the client that's on the table. So it's really fascinating. I think it can get kind of esoteric because technically you can use Reiki healing energy even to go across large distances. So you could Reiki someone on the other side of the world, basically. So it's pretty powerful in a lot of ways.
Wow.
And I have my own little ways of doing that kind of distance healing also. And I just learned to trust it, to just trust the idea that it can happen. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's pretty cool. But I mostly do it hands-on, and the book is mostly geared towards using your hands on either yourself or your loved ones and the people that you care about, your friends and family.
Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know what kind of energy I have, but I have this gift. I can rub my hands together and they get super hot, and I can touch someone and they actually burn.
Yes.
I don't know if that's, I've been told that I have healing hands. I don't know if that has any relationship to it, but it's exciting to know that I could learn how to become a healer.
Absolutely. I think that it's really important to know that this isn't something that's just imparted or gifted to just certain people. It really is anybody who's walking around and breathing really has the capacity to use their hands to heal others and heal themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a lot of interesting, even scientific research going on in trying to understand this, to try to measure. Really, the technology is trying to catch up to what everybody is already doing. And so I've heard one version where the person is saying, "Oh, it feels really hot," like there's heat coming from the hands. And when they put like temperature sensors on the hands and on the person's body, like there's not really a change in temperature. So it's the energy flow. Our body only knows how to call it heat. It feels like heat, even though it's actually, the temperature is not actually hot.
Wow.
So it's an interesting idea that we're learning to measure different types of energy, not just thermal energy, or light energy. It's like, this is really understanding the subtle energies that I think are composed of the electromagnetic field around every material object in the 3D universe.
Hmm. Is Reiki something new, or is it an ancient art?
Reiki originated in the early 1900s. There was a gentleman who was a healing practitioner in Japan. His name was Mikao Sui, and that's the kind of Reiki that I was trained in. And he ended up going on this Buddhist monk, and ended up going on this 21-day retreat. And during this retreat, he was imparted visually images, symbols that he was instructed to use to direct universal life force energy to heal people. Mm-hmm. And so he started teaching other people what he had been given, and started this little school basically of students. And it so happened that there was one of those students also that his name was Chihiro Hayashi. He was a physician also, and he learned it. He got the attunements that are required as the master imparts the symbols and the technology to the students. And so this Dr. Hayashi said that he wanted to kind of fine tune how they do the attunements to make to create more teachers, basically. And he happened to teach another person, Japanese American woman named Hawaii Takata, and she actually ended up bringing it to Hawaii, I think in like 1930, 1935 or something like that. And that's really where, you know, Reiki in the West, that's really where it's came from. But they all had experiences, they all tried it, they all used it, they saw that it, you know, on a certain level it really works for certain things really, really well. And in a very similar way, my teacher, who was a Kundalini yoga teacher, Sri Gopal Singh, he introduced me to it. I was doing Kundalini yoga with him, and he introduced me to Reiki. And, you know, at the beginning, I was very, you know, I think healthy skepticism would be the best way to say it. I was like, well, I don't know about this, but maybe it works. You know, I'm just this left brain scientific Los Alamos guy. Right brain was really kind of not, yeah, it's like, oh, that's nice, you know, but you don't really listen to that. Don't let that guy too much. But I think the idea is that we experiment. Okay, that's the one thing I got from Los Alamos as a scientist. You know, you experiment things. So that's kind of how it's gotten to the point where after I learned it and I got the attunements, I just tried it on myself, like all the time. Like anytime I whacked myself or hit my head, or I went full force into a fire hydrant one time that I wasn't paying attention, and then just whacked my knee and was sure that there was going to be, you know, major trauma of some sort. And I thought, you know, do what you learned. And I tried it, and not even less than 5 minutes probably. And I stopped and I started kind of moving it around, and sure enough, it really made a huge difference.
So cool.
And yeah, so that's, for me, that's my like kind of experience with Reiki, where it came from and how it's gotten to where I'm able to use it to help other people.
So I'm guessing you knew immediately that you wanted to learn this art.
It was very intriguing, because I like many people, I think it's really hard to understand, you know, this, even just the word energy. And people have so many different ideas of what that means and how it's used. And I think that the more that we, again, experiment with it and try different things to see, does it make a difference or doesn't it? You know, is there energy in crystals? Is there, you know, energy just in dirt and the prana of the trees? You know, and I think that as people with their curiosity as their leader, I think it's really fun for people to go on their own energy adventure and check it out and see for themselves. Because just telling us, we don't have data to disapprove things. So for me, it was really about giving up the science mind of, you know, unless you can prove it, you know, it's not real. So, you know, that's, I think it's a fun thing to explore and a really great thing to try.
Man, I'm excited. I really am. The thought that it can be done through the air to someone in another state or even in another country or around the world.
Yes.
Is there any scientific explanation or understanding to this? Because this is just so unbelievable.
Well, it's really great, because I keep calling it the science mind and the spirit mind, maybe like the left and right brain. It's really great that the science, the best science in the world, the most complicated science in the world, has gotten to this point where they kind of stop, where the two worlds meet.
Yes.
They start about the God particle. They start talking about quantum physics. They start talking about entrainment and a distance between two polarized. I think it's neutrons. I don't even know for sure. But the idea that there's communication that happens across great distances that's immediate, that's instantaneous.
Yes.
So it's like, well, I think there's a lot that we don't know, and I'll say it that way. And I think that we do kind of working in this field of like even wellness and energy medicine. I think there's really an opportunity.
Uh-oh. I think we have some technical difficulties.
Cable.
Oh, there we go. I lost you for a second there. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? So we have a little freeze up here. There you go. Now you're back.
I'm good.
Okay. Technology.
Well, that's what's so great. It's like, the best technology in the world, it does have its limitations, and that's really where I land with it. I got to give up needing to know, needing to prove it, needing
Absolutely.
to have evidence, to see data. I was like, I'm just going to trust and allow and let it happen.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
It's I was thinking about Deepak Chopra in one of his books. He talks about they put leads on polygraph leads on a blood sample, and they put the same leads on someone that was a mile away, and they gave this person a polygraph, and every reading came out on that blood sample that was a mile away, and it just really makes me realize that the connectivity of all things, and so just like in Christianity, they say there's nothing can separate the Word of God from distance or time, or space, and so I think that those laws of the universe are very universal. I think that we very much don't capitalize or benefit or use the gifts that we have.
Yeah. I think we're just getting to know. It really is this awakening, I think, and people's, like you mentioned before we started, that curiosity.
Yes.
People, especially, unfortunately, we're interesting creatures, human beings. We won't seek something other than our already always thinking until we're like on our knees, in great suffering. And so I think now, especially, just the huge changes in the world are bringing people to this place, to this brink of I want to call it adventure, where we're going to go to a place that we've never been, maybe, or go to a place that we've been afraid or kind of reluctant to explore.
Yes.
And I think in that exploration, I think is where people will find that there's so much that we don't know, and so much to be learned, and we all have a different version of how that new information, will work with us and through us. So
absolutely.
It's very, very fascinating.
Absolutely. When we met you, and Stephen was talking about astrology and numerology, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is. I couldn't absorb it fast enough. It was just so cool to talk about this topic because, this is, Eckhart Tolle talked about a new earth, and he talked about this broad awakening, this huge awakening that's taken place worldwide. And
yes.
I totally believe it. I'm starting to see more and more of this alertness, awareness, in spite of the people sleeping that we see, all the time, every day. It's exciting for me.
Yeah, for sure. And it's in Kundalini Yoga they talk about the guru, which in the language means bringing light into the darkness. Mm-hmm. And I think in the awakening, as the light gets brighter, of course, what's the first thing that you see, even if you're in your home, as soon as you turn on the lights and get the bright lights on, it's like, whoa, the cobwebs and the dead spider in the corner and all that stuff is there. You notice things when the light is brighter. Mm-hmm. And so I think so much of what's happening today really is in that kind of realm of bringing light into all the deep and dark crevices of humanity. Mm-hmm. And, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The boils are rising to the surface. Everything is being exposed. Almost like in a world of no lying, cheating, and stealing, a lot of amazing things can happen. When everything is very transparent, we get to make sound decisions. We get to, consider and choose in a very powerful way, rather than being confused and stuff being obfuscated and really having a difficult time trying to figure out what the best next step is. Mm-hmm. So, I think that Reiki and energy healing is just in its infancy in terms of what we're going to be able to use and understand in terms of energy in all its forms, whether it's sound energy or electromagnetic fields or energy from I want to even say other dimensions, meaning that I do think it's multidimensional. I do think, like when I'm doing work on a client on the table, I say we're not healing just you in this room, in this space. We're healing anybody that needs healing anywhere.
Wow.
And because it does feel like there's a point in the sessions where there's a stillness that occurs. It doesn't feel like time and space anymore is happening.
Wow.
And that's the place that I think so much healing can happen and come from.
Wow.
And I said I'm so excited because it's never boring. It's always so exciting. Like the next amazing thing to notice just happens.
So cool. Yeah. I remember when my wife was in the hospice, and I would go see her, and I would play music soft in the background, and we would just close the door, and it was like this magical moment. And exactly what you said brought me back to that. No time. It was a timeless, no energy, no space, no sadness, no fear, no doubt, no death. And I wonder if that's kind of what I was feeling.
Absolutely. It's like, because we create the space. I mean, I remember my company is a space for wellness, and I basically say I create a space to facilitate flow and facilitate deep relaxation. Because in that space, time does kind of, when you're out in nature and you stop and also you're like, kind of zoning out on a bird on the branch, everything just stops. I mean, there's really no time happening, and you kind of lose like even proprioception and noticing anything else that's around because you're kind of just being with that thing that you're noticing. And
absolutely.
I think it's magical. I think it really is magical. In a very sense of the word.
Magical. That is the word. Magical. Dr. Joe Dispenza in his book Becoming Supernatural talks a lot about becoming no thing, no place, at no time, and it's so difficult. I gotta say, when I first started reading this book, I was on audio, and it was really hard for me to grasp it. But as I became more comfortable with it, or I accepted it, it was like, oh man, I've started to become more and more comfortable with the meditation, and I know one of your books is on chakras, and I can't wait to talk about this topic. But,
that'll be fun too.
But when we go through this process of the Reiki, is there is there a center that you start, or do you really focus on chakras, or is it just really the entire spiritual being or body of the person you're working on? I don't know.
When I approach my clients?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a pretty, I call it like a general deluxe integrated session that I use different modalities when I'm working on clients. But what's most important to me is to have the intake, the 15, 20 minutes before we even start. Kind of get to know enough about them so I kind of get where they're at and what's going on. And then what's great about it is that once they present an issue, then I have a lot of different modalities to kind of focus my intention and attention to as I'm working with them. And so that's really how most of the sessions go. But I do have clients that come on a regular basis, and they don't really need anything special, and we just do a whole body session, and it's just super balancing. People leave feeling, relaxed and comfortable and clear and almost in that state that we talk about, really present and connected.
Present.
And really, that's what we're all seeking, is connection. We're social beings, and we live in a world where things are intentionally separated. We name things to make them different than who we are. We create structures so that we keep ourselves apart from each other. And now, this is so amazing to watch with the virus that's happening now, is it's forcing us to be separated, which is really uncomfortable for most of us. I mean, I haven't seen or heard people say so much about how much they miss hugging people, just holding each other, and just to hug each other. And we want to be connected, and this work, I think, really helps to make that happen, where we are able to have a sense of really deep connection. The way that I describe it is like you can put your hands out in front of you, and you can look at your fingernails, and you know that they're part of you, and you feel connected to them. But if you lost one of your fingers, you wouldn't feel like like there's something missing from who you are as a person, as a personality, as a human being. And I think that there's an extension of that if we really get present to the fact that we're really connected to everything around us, and that there really isn't anything that's not connected in a very, I guess, even energetic way, that you start to feel like a greater sense of belonging and a greater sense of purpose, even if it's just to care more about other things, other people, other animals, other plants, the earth, everything, the planet, everything that we're doing. At this point, even the solar system, with going to the moon and to Mars, is all of a sudden there's a connection. It's like, wow, this is weird. Like somebody's stood, you look at the moon and go, one of us has been standing there looking back at us. Wow. That's a weird connection.
And yet there's that connection, yeah, as distant as 25,000 miles away, and yet here we are, however many miles.
Yes.
Folks, if you're just joining us, you're watching the Weekend Boost. This is KUHS The Stream on Melody Drive. We're talking to Victor Archuleta today, and he's written a book on Reiki for beginners. And we're just talking about energy, and we're talking about connection, and we're talking about things that are really relevant to to us as human beings. And Victor was just talking about connection and why we have this innate desire to be connected to all things around us. And I love that you mentioned earth and animals and plants, and because honestly we're if you separate race from this, and you separate gender from this, and you separate animals versus humans, mammals, or whatever, we're earthlings. We are really all of one thing, and it's this earth. So there's I think it's just a profound simplicity in the connectivity of things.
Exactly. Something so simple as we're all connected in this moment with this idea that how vulnerable all of us are to one itty teeny tiny little group of molecules that make up virus. It's kind of mind blowing in that way. It's like, wow, how can such a small little group of atoms really connect the entire planet?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with so much devastation, and just so almost effortlessly.
Yes.
I think about cancer, and when someone dies of cancer, the only good thing about that death is that the cancer's died with the person.
Yeah.
I think that it's. I guess I would implore anyone watching today to look through the darkness that's going on in this COVID virus, and find out how this can bring connectivity to your household, to your family, to yourself. I got to tell you that some time back I realized that I was very disconnected, and I was disconnected in a spiritual way, and I was disconnected from focus, and I didn't even realize it. And I had a guest come on the show, and she just talked about connectivity, and she talked about the universe, and I left the show and I went home and I thought about, oh my gosh, I saw that disconnect, and I realized that I needed to find a common I guess a common ground.
Yeah, it really is trying to make some kind of energetic connection. It's like you want to feel understood, you want to feel seen, we want to feel that what we think and what we see and what we say matters. And when we feel disconnected, we don't feel seen, we don't feel understood, we don't feel like there's anything that we can do to make a difference. And I think prayer is huge in terms of it. At the very beginning, you talked about the word, and it's just prayer is so powerful, because I think almost literally, when we speak, the universe listens and something manifests into reality, into material form. In the latest book, I'm talking about energy, and even just the equation E equals mc squared. Energy and matter, they're the same thing. They're just different expressions of the same thing.
Yes.
And so the idea that we're creating, we literally are creating our experience in 3D with our, I think mostly our emotions, our feelings, especially love and gratitude.
Yes, absolutely. Gratitude. I talk about gratitude on every show, and I was going to bring that up, and you brought it up first. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Your image kind of comes back and forth. But gratitude. Gratitude, you would not think that this has anything to do with healing, that this would not have anything to do with manifesting, that would have not anything to do with really anything except being grateful. But it's core, it's central.
Yes. I think it's acknowledging, it's just being, like they say, one of the most powerful prayers is thank you.
Oh, wow.
Just simple.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever you're praying for or to, it's
Yes.
just to be grateful, just to have gratitude for being alive, for that first breath that we are conscious of in the morning, for the last breath that we're conscious of when we go to sleep, and knowing that it's not. None of it's guaranteed.
Yes.
It's all pretty fragile and fleeting, and it could, all it is one day it will happen, and we don't know when or where or how that will be.
And we think about breathing as an insignificant thing, and yet it's profound. I mean, it's central. It's the main element of our life, and and we take it so for granted. And I think that when we can really observe or comprehend the little things in our lives, that we can really understand what real gratitude is. Gratitude isn't getting a new car. Gratitude is that delicious piece of pie that I just ate. Man, I tell you, I got up this morning, and Dee, my girlfriend, got up and made me a bread in the basket, which is an egg fried in a piece of bread and some hash browns, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. I can't believe how fortunate I am.
Yeah, I hear sometimes people say, "Oh, you're so lucky," and I said, "I don't think I'm lucky. I think I'm really blessed."
You're blessed.
It feels like this is just, I think when we open ourselves up to life, it kind of responds in kind. But when if I get a little grabby or a little attached or a little too me, the universe doesn't have a lot of wiggle room to kind of give you anything that's going to make you feel great. And the more we let go. And I sometimes use the analogy of like on a roller coaster, depending on where you are in the roller coaster, you either hang on for dear life or you totally let go and don't even.
That's a great example. Right? Yes.
And that's life to me. It's like know when to hold on and when to let go.
Yes. I heard an analogy one time of this. Two people, they came to this pile of gold. And the one guy came with a teaspoon, and he took his teaspoon of gold, and he walked away with it, and he was happy. And the next guy came to that same pile, but he had a steam shovel, and he took a big old giant scoop of it. And it's like, what? It's really up to us how much we want to take from this life.
Exactly. And there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong choice. It's like everybody's on their own path. They're doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying there isn't right or wrong in the world, but I think as individuals, when we make a choice, we sometimes get so stuck in whether we're doing the right thing or not. And a lot of times it's just, we do the best we can, what we know, what we've got in any given situation. And you be willing to make mistakes. I think one of the biggest crimes is having us be so afraid of making mistakes. I think that the biggest teachers, the one thing that you actually do get is like, whoa, I'm not doing that again. Yeah. If you never touch the hot iron, you're never going to know that little piece of information, You kind of get it. And maybe you'll hurt somebody else by accident because you never even knew what it was to burn,
Man, that is a profound statement. I'm ornery. I can't lie. I'm ornery. And people see things and they perceive things and they accept things for what they are without question. I'll give you an example. I was walking through the Goodwill the other day with my girlfriend. And I went to the irons, and the appliances, and I got an unplugged iron, and I walked up to her, and I put it on her, and what did she do? She jumped back. And
yes, of course. our minds are so, that's going to be like, we're going to do this energy exploration, and then it's going to be like, we're really going to start try to understand how our minds really work, because they're so powerful.
They're so powerful.
We can create, and hypnotherapists have been doing amazing things with showing just how much whatever we perceive, like how we believe. It's not even whatever is happening, it's what we think is happening is really what creates our reality. That's why I thought it's so important. When someone says, you know, people who, I've been there many times, where it's easy to complain and complain and complain and complain, and they feel kind of victimized by life. And that's how I think this universal life energy, this force, higher power, God, the universe, the creator, will respond in what you are creating in your mind.
Yes.
And that's the part where it makes so much sense. When I get nervous, when I get scared, when I get a little out of sorts, I have certain prayers that I just pray and just pray them over and over and over again.
Yes.
I'm well and safe. And it sounds kind of corny, but our thoughts really do, I think, they make a difference in our body, which makes a difference in our experience. And that's everything. That's why the sessions and the Reiki is so profound, because we're creating this space for wellness, I'll say, itself.
Mm-hmm. So they've never been able to measure the energy that's coming from Reiki. Is that correct? Are you there? We keep getting a little bit of a freeze up here. Oh, I'm on the wrong mouse here. Okay. Well, folks, I'm going to take another identification break. Again, it's KUHS, the stream on Melody Drive. This is, oh, we lost him. Okay, I need some technical help here. Henry? Okay. So we've been talking to Victor Archuleta about Reiki, and I was just getting ready to have him talk a little bit about how Reiki works and how he. Okay, so I was just going to have Henry. I was going to have Victor do some actual Reiki, and just see how it works. There he is. Okay, we got you. Okay, audio here. Audio will come on in just a minute. We love technology. Okay. So, my daughter went through the Reiki training, and she became certified, and she started telling me about this, and I really wasn't real aware of this, and so the more she told me, the more I was real excited, and when she told me she had met Victor up in New Mexico, I was just really, really excited to to have him on board here and to bring him into the show, and just to really expose this awesome art. And so, Victor, welcome back.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
We are out here,
Yeah, we're at the mercy of the airwaves. Hey, talk about frequency.
Frequency. It's funny because I associate it almost immediately with color.
Yes.
And sound. And so this is a really fun thing to explore as well, in terms of like the chakras, because they too are kind of associated with these frequencies and these colors, these sounds and these colors. And I think frequency, when I think about it, it's something that only happens in space and time. Mm-hmm. And it's something like, even like light waves can travel through space, but sound waves can't, because there's no medium for the sound wave to propagate. But I think in terms of the Reiki and the healing and tissue, I can't remember, I think it was USF, but they did a research study where they were trying to understand the frequency of injured tissue versus the frequency of healthy tissue. Oh. And some of what they noticed is that injured tissue has a higher frequency than healthy tissue. And this higher frequency is, it's almost like an alarm that's going off to let your body know that there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. And what and the way that I think it works is that the body's response is almost it's a hyper response. It's almost like our immune system is still a little primitive compared to how we've progressed in terms of treating health. We have penicillin, we have surgery, we have amazing things that get us to where we are today. And I think that the injured tissue sets off these alarms that almost causes a hyperimmune response to the injury. So often there's a ton of inflammation, there's a ton of edema, and all this stuff starts to happen. The antibodies, everything, the white blood cells, everything's coming to help, save the end of the world, because that's kind of the response that it's responding to. That it thinks, and when we were hunter-gatherers, if you're out hunting and you twisted your ankle, you needed to have a big ball of edema around your ankle so you could get back to camp. You could get back to where you came from. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to walk. So, in a similar way, I think that the energy, what do I want to say? When the body is exposed to healthy tissue, so say the palms of your hands, and you put it over the injured site, I think that what they were noticing is the healthy tissue frequency, the injured tissue frequency started to match the frequency of the healthy tissue.
Wow.
And in that matching of the healthy tissue, it kind of it turns off the alarms. And so there's not as much edema, there's not as much swelling, there's not as much, like I even noticed when I did it on myself, like the black and blue thing, like I haven't had a bad bruise. I don't remember having a super bad bruise in a long time. And I used to always, anytime you whack, you bump your head, or whatever happens, you get this lump and this, all multicolored thing that happens. But I think something happens with this healthy tissue when it's applied in the injured tissue that stops the body from doing this hyper-reaction and allows your body to heal a little, I want to say, cleaner. It's almost like even when a surgeon makes an opening and it's a nice, clean thing, it's really easy to just barely stitch it and the whole thing will heal fast without a scar. But if you get, a dull knife and try to open up the skin and it's ragged, then it's much more difficult for the body to kind of heal in a kind of clean way, I want to say. It's not hyper response. So I think that when you talk about frequency, that's how I see Reiki energy and the energy of even. You can make it as simple as light energy, everything from gamma rays and X that are really harmful. They have a frequency that's too high for our DNA. It goes through, it penetrates, and it cuts things that it's not supposed to.
Wow.
And I think there are like UV is really great at killing a lot of viruses and bacteria in our body. And so it's that frequency of light that actually can affect, our health and our well-being in a very real way. So, I think of light, I think of color, I think of sound. I'm starting to do sound baths. I've been working at the Healing House in Espanola, and I'm going to be scheduling some outdoor sound baths. And it really is just going to the big crystal bowls, basically, that I'm using.
Wow.
They're crystal. And that sound, that there's a frequency for every chakra, and so during the sound bath, I basically go through, 3, 4, 5 minutes per chakra, and it really just helps kind of align the energy of the different parts, different parts of our body. We'll talk about it in another show, I think.
Very cool. Very cool.
But it is frequency and energy.
So, if someone wanted to get into Reiki, where would they start?
I think there are quite a few websites that help you find the practitioner near you, so to speak. And most Reiki masters, I'm a Reiki master technically. I have not done any attunements, or taught classes. I use it in my practice, and that's how I use what I've learned. But they exist. They're pretty much all over, and especially in the United States, I think. And I would go online, I'd look for one close to you, and sometimes you can look at if there's Yelp reviews even, and get people that that have really, that the people that they've taught can kind of vouch for them. I think that's kind of the best. I mean, Yelp is sometimes, it depends on the input, of course, of the data, but I think that's a good way to figure out who and how to find someone to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the book is really intended for non-Reiki practitioners. It really is for the layperson. And it really is to kind of explain in a very simple way, like what you can do to address certain ailments or illnesses or injuries, and how you can use it on yourself and on other people. And it's really intended to be kind of a reference book. It's not really like a front to back cover kind of read.
Mm-hmm.
It really is intended, how to set your intention before you start, how to figure out what it is that you want to address, and then how you want to address it. If you want to use chakras to address it, use Reiki by dealing with the chakras, or you want to use the different systems of the body, like your digestive system or your respiratory system or your neurological system.
Wow.
So it really is, it's a fun way to give people some choices, and it also, it can be specific to whatever is ailing you or your loved one. And it really is going with the principle that we've all got the same. We've got the power to do it. The attunements, really the biggest, what I want to say, the difference is that a Reiki trained practitioner has learned the symbols that Dr. Usudi that Mr. Usudi had been given.
Mm-hmm.
And in those symbols, they're technically not supposed to be shared with anyone who hasn't had the attunements. And because they're kind of these sacred, they are sacred symbols that are used for very specific types of healing, including, for instance, the distance healing. And I think if that's something that anybody wants to really try to explore, go for it. And I think they even do online Reiki attunements now too. I'm pretty sure, especially because of the COVID thing, because they everybody's finding a way to keep doing what they want to do. And I think having the idea too that distance doesn't really make a difference is really powerful. So you really get that, okay, it doesn't really matter. It matters who is doing it, not where they're doing it from.
Right.
I ended up traveling to Arizona to do the last of the attunements for Reiki in Phoenix at the Health Source with Sangeet Kaur, another Kundalini yoga. Amazing person. And the experience is, it's very, what do I want to say? It's an experience. I'll just kind of leave it at that. They do certain prayers and do certain, they move around the room in a very specific and particular way to open up channels. And when you're done, it's just like, wow, something is shifted, something is different.
You feel the difference.
Something happened, yeah.
Wow.
It's really good. I encourage anybody, if you're curious, go for it. It's not it's not like 150 hours of training or anything like that. It's not like being a massage therapist or something with hundreds of hours. But it is powerful, and I think that the proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely.
And when you try it, you experience it. You don't have to know why. You don't have to understand why. I can make up what I think it is, but to me, it's like if someone feels better after we're done. And if they don't, that's fine too. Mm-hmm. But I love when they do. I love when they sit up on the table and they just say, wow. Like that's their response to the session. That's like, perfect.
Absolutely. So now, if you were doing distance Reiki on someone and could you do it while they didn't know it?
You can do it, but you're quote unquote not supposed to. I mean, technically, Reiki is provided to someone who has requested it or has given their permission to have it done.
Okay.
And that's kind of the rule that I have. I mean, I do Reiki for the world, for the planet, for humanity in the very general sense. I'm a friend of Reiki's in traffic in LA. It's kind of crazy, but he's not doing it to individual people. He's doing it to the energy of of the system of what's going on the freeway. Mm-hmm. But I think again the intention is 90% of it. It's like what is your intention, mm-hmm. and always to do no harm. It really is always for the higher and the highest good for any particular person or people or planet. This is what healers do, and.
Would you say Reiki is comparable to prayer?
I think it's similar. I think prayer is specific. I think in that it does, usually, my understanding, one of two things. It's kind of this idea that you're asking for something.
Yes.
You know, we're praying for, hopefully not, praying for, I want to be a millionaire, but do that if you want.
Yes.
But I think the idea is that we're requesting something, or we're giving, again, gratitude for something. So it's really it's got kind of, to me, it's got a kind of specific purpose.
Okay.
But even if I'm praying for calm and relaxation, I think it's really powerful and really works. As opposed to something like meditation, because prayer can be a form of meditation, but not all meditation necessarily is prayer.
I agree.
And I would say that meditation is more something that we would do really in service to others.
Okay.
A lot of times people say, well, I want to, save humanity. I want to save the world. I want to find what I'm going to do that's going to, contribute to the well-being of humanity. And I think these days, especially as isolated as we are, doing the meditation for the benefit of others, to really being of service in my time and my energy in the service of others, is one of the most powerful things we can be doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, and the ascended masters, all the saints, all of the higher beings of this universe are like going, please, just ask us for help. Like,
wow.
They can't infringe on, they will. They're saying, please reach out. Please show us that you care, that you're there for us to use. I did a journey thing, and I ended up in the middle of Mount Shasta, and there were these giants in my mind, of course. And I was very concerned about smashing into the rocks. They said, don't worry about it, just go. And so I ended up in the middle of this thing, and they just said, we need your help. We're super powerful, but we can't do it without you. They need the plants, the rocks. Everybody needs our help, the animals.
Wow.
They need our intention. They need our connectedness. They need our awareness. And I think it's a huge contribution. If we can just do that, we can make a big deal. We don't have to reinvent, something gigantic. There are people that will, and we don't have to worry about that.
Wow.
Unless you're called to do it. If you want to desalinate, the ocean water to give water to people that don't have it, and you can do that, awesome, go do it. If you want to do it, be a brain surgeon, awesome, go do it. But I think a lot of people sometimes feel like nothing that they can really do to make a difference. And I'm like, oh man, there's so much we can do. It's mostly doing no thing. It really is mostly doing nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, very powerful. But it's nothing's going to change my world, I think, is one of the lyrics for something. Is that the Beatles? Yes.
Gonna change.
Exactly. And people are like, well, that seems kind of like cynical, like nothing's going to change your world. Like, what does that mean? It's like you say, no thing is going to change my world. But my world is going to be changed by something really much more amazing than material things,
Mm-hmm.
And that's my take on it anyway.
Really, that makes sense. I was, as you were talking, I was thinking about. I have a bunch of flower gardens in my yard. I have flowers all over, and those flowers are completely dependent on me to water them, to fertilize them, and their whole life depends on me. But I, in turn, am depending on their beauty, their smell, their fragrance, their refreshing presence in my life enriches me. And,
absolutely.
And so there's that connectivity that we had talked about earlier. Hey, Victor, if someone wanted to buy your book, where would they go?
There's a couple of different ways. You can go to the brick and mortar, like Barnes and Noble has them, and if you like, I think they're open. I think they're doing distance shopping these days. But certainly on Amazon, they all exist. The fourth one has not been published yet, but the first three are. And also, if you want to reach out to me personally, I'm happy to we can do a PayPal thing, and I'll sign it. I can personalize it and send it to you. It's not. It's so much my pleasure to be able to reach out. Kind of that one-on-one thing is that again the connection.
Absolutely.
Because once it gets out into and I love that about the books is that I did it, and now it's kind of out of my hands and it's out there doing things. It's been translated. This one has been translated in I think 6 languages.
Holy cow!
And, it's so cool. And so I get these Instagram requests, from the Czech Republic and from Estonia and from Poland and all over Italy, France, in Latin America. They did the Spanish one for Latin America, and they did a Spanish one for Spain. And it's really, it's such a blessing. All of it has been so cool. But that's the easiest way. But I'd easily, you can go to, even the easiest thing probably is victor@victorarchuleta.com is the email that works. Or just look me up on the website. You can look up A Space for Wellness. You'll find me. And on Instagram, I think it's just @Victor Archuleta. Or no, it's @A Space for Wellness without any kind of punctuation. But yeah, reach out, and I'm happy to will DM and get details and make it happen if you want to do that too.
Absolutely.
And I do book signings locally too once in a while. I was doing them before the pandemic hit, and I'm looking forward to being able to do them again.
So cool. Very cool. Yeah, I tell you, on our next trip, we definitely want to make it a point to see you guys, and you know, we kind of cut our short trip. It was my fault. I thought you guys were going to be around. Long story, but I mean it, Victor. We're so excited to have met you both, and
absolutely.
My daughter speaks so highly of you, and you know, and I just think you've really been a bright spot in her life, and certainly in mine, and you know, it's just been really good getting to know you. And we got about 5 minutes. What kind of closing thoughts do you have for us as listeners?
Closing thoughts. And it can all sound so cliche, but I think cliches are actually not so cliche-ish. But I would say stay curious. You know, follow your heart. I mean, really simple things. You know, trust your intuition. You know, heal your wounds. You know, especially with your parents if you haven't done so already. They don't have to be around, but it's just almost getting complete with their parents, because those injuries are very deep, and if we don't address them, it's not to get rid of them, but to acknowledge it and heal it, so that you can see the scar and not feel like a wound, you know, that kind of thing. So heal your relationships, and then, you know, be kind to each other.
Be kind.
That's really where I land.
Man, that's really important. I think it's so important. I think that there's so much going on in this world, and the universe is really making itself known to the world inhabitants. You know, we talked about this great awakening, this awareness that's taking place, and folks, get on board. You know, wake up. So many times we go through life with these blinders on, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I've been guilty of it, you know. And as I've gotten older and I've gotten to be more open, I've realized that there's a lot of cool things out there that I could learn and grow from and benefit from and help others with.
Yes.
And Reiki,
have the conversations, you know, talk to each other, discuss things, especially the people that you don't agree with, the people that maybe don't see things the way you do, and ask questions. You know, wow, tell me a little bit more about why and how you think what you think.
Yes.
And try to see their point of view, because we are all connected. They're just different aspects of us too. So it's very fascinating, very cool. I just want to say thank you to you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you again, and looking forward to being on the show again.
Yes, I mean, we had a great time meeting you guys. It was just a treat, and you know, it's always nice to enlarge your circle of friends, and to go out into the world and to see that there's some cool people out there, man. And you know, in spite of the COVID virus, and in spite of, you know, what's going on in our society, we still need to enlarge ourselves, to grow, to reach out, to touch lives, and to make a difference. You know, I think that's what life is really about, is making a difference in other people's lives. And you're the man that's doing it. Yeah.
And we do it, yes.
So you practice in Española?
I'm working in Española right now. Yeah, I just set up a space just for myself at the Healing House of New Mexico.com is what it's called. Beautiful, beautiful place that we're just getting going operationally, and we're so excited to really provide this jewel of Española to the valley and the surrounding areas. Yeah, very, very exciting.
Awesome. Your other book was on chakras, and then you have a book on meditation.
It is, and let's see if I can say this right. This is the chakra book. So let's give you a little teaser there.
Yes, chakras for beginners.
All right, so it's similar in format that, you know, Quarto Publishing in London. They're amazing. They make it all happen, and I work with them, and they're wonderful. But then the third book is a version of chakras, a different series called Sacred Chakras. So it's got a little bit of a different then, and then the last one is called the Power of Energy Healing, completely separate from the other three.
Too cool.
That part.
Man, it's an honor to have you. I mean it. It's just so exciting to have someone who's just, you know, you're so progressive and forward thinking, and we need this. We need you. We need people like you out there. We need people like
I
you.
need you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, and to the listening audience, you know what? There's a book in you. There's a book waiting to come out, and all you got to do is pick up your laptop and start typing. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've written 20 pages and I didn't hit save. And so, you know, there's a book in you guys, and there's an opportunity. Victor, I just thank you so much for joining us, and we will absolutely be having you again on the show. Victor has written this book.
Reiki for beginners.
Reiki, yeah, thank you. Hold that book up. Reiki for Beginners. Victor Archuleta. Victor at victorarchuleta.com is where you get this book. Please, folks, reach out, get this book, get yourself started on your journey to awakening and awareness. Victor, again, thank you so much for your time. I've been so excited to talk to you all week, and you didn't let me down.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Blessings to you. We'll be talking soon.
Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.